Hello, everyone. My name is Christine, and I'm here today with Kristen, and this is our 16th episode of Walking the Path. And for those that are new, we'll start just with a little introduction about us and where we're at in our lives, and then we'll jump into our topic for today. So to begin, Kristen, tell us a little bit about where you're at and what's most relevant to you in your life now.
Hi, Christine. I'm
Hi.
so glad to be here for episode 16. My name's Kristen, and I just wanted to say, too, that we've been doing this for a year. We talked about that this is like our one-year anniversary episode, and so it was just over a year ago that Christine and I decided, like, hey, let's start recording some of these conversations we have that are relevant to walking this path of truth and self-unfoldment and, expanding consciousness. It's not always an easy path. It's not always glamorous. It's not always fun, but sometimes it is all those things. And we thought we'd like to kind of, expose the truth about all sides of, walking this path. So yeah, right now I'm actually in Mexico, just outside of Mexico City, in a place called San Miguel de Allende. And we've been working for 3 months on a project for the winter, for 3 months this winter. So we're 3 months into like a 7-month project, actually, of hosting retreats. And so we'll have 13 weeks of retreats at a small retreat center in Puerto Escondido. And so we're on the path through Mexico right now, gathering supplies, making contacts, and spreading the word about what it is we're offering, as well as all of the other guest facilitators that are coming in. So I'm glad to have a little time here today in San Miguel to sit down and record episode 16 with you, Christine.
Yeah, it's so great to be here. And for me, it keeps evolving, as Kristen mentioned, in this walking the path, when we truly commit to consciousness, to awakening, to allowing what's most true and dear for us to unfold. The trajectory of that can be so unique because it isn't linear, and it can come in quantum leaps where it seems like there's nothing really going on or nothing really changing, then all of a sudden everything is changing. Like for me, in this last couple of months, I went to Sedona twice. Once was with a friend who had a week off work, and he just said, hey, do you want to just go to Sedona? And I said, yeah, I can do my client sessions from there. And so we just essentially jumped on the plane and went there. And to be with the rocks and to be in these energy vortexes, the level of relaxation in my body was profound. And just the stillness that I know is me, is my essence, to actually get to rest in it was so nurturing. And it was just we were there 3 days and some driving on either side. And then when I got home, about a week after that, I got a newsletter from this woman, Bridget Nielsen, who was having a retreat there called Live Your Excitement and Be Healthy. And it was just like, oh, I'm in. And so like 3 weeks later, I was back, and for a full week this time, and to just wake up early in the morning with this lightness and just be feeling happy and at ease is just like, oh, I know this is my true space of being. And so to have a week knowing that, right, really was like building a stronger foundation. So I can be that anywhere in the world, but it's definitely a practice to choose these different environments that we're living in, right? And they're not all full of peace and calm, and they're not all right now in a state of rest and ease, right? There, many environments are more of a state of chaos or conflict, or just an underlying state of like dis-ease on some level, just like things aren't okay. But some environments try to pretend they're okay. Other environments just like go into panic. So it's just, our subject for today is really about this energy of commitment to our path, whether we actually know what that is in the moment or not. But it's more like commitment to an energy, commitment to going deeper into your essence and then expressing that essence, whatever it looks like, whatever it takes. And there can be moments of that progression where it feels really easy, right? Like say that week in Sedona where I'm just like showing up at this retreat and meeting people, and there's such a level of presence and connectivity and joy and playfulness and laughter. It's just like, oh yeah, I haven't had this in a while, like this level of expression and this level of flow, and knowing that support in a collective field is possible. Like there's so much of like kind of a preview to what's to come, but the actual path there can take time, right? Even though we know now what's possible. So Kristen, what do you have to say on the subject of commitment and really staying present and engaged in that path, even when it looks pretty shakier?
I'm just laughing because, it's, to me, just in talking with a few other people about the topic of commitment and living what I've been living just these last few months, just staying the course when things are a little scary or they're uncertain, or, maybe someone who you consider a wise person in your life, is maybe deterring you from something that you feel like you want to stay committed to, or, opinions can really sway us from a commitment. Current events, weather and interactions with loved ones and friends. And, I think something that's become really clear to me, and, I work with a lot of people on a lot of different levels all the time, and listening to the excuses that we all come up with about why we can't remain committed to whatever it is. It could be a coffee date with a friend, that's a commitment. You can choose to keep that commitment. Or it's completing a course. So Tanner and I both were just officially certified as yoga teachers. And, we did the 3-week course, but we weren't completed. We weren't certified after the 3-week course. It was 200 hours. And then we needed to keep a 30-day meditation journal each. We needed to take notes. We needed to stay committed to that. We also needed to teach a certain number of free classes, practice hours where we had to keep very detailed notes about what we taught, how we taught it, and then kind of critique ourselves and each other. And it was a lot. It was a lot to do, and we both helped each other to stay on course. And it felt so incredible to complete all that extracurricular stuff we had to do, to submit it, and to get a letter back, each of us saying, "Thank you for your hard work and your commitment. Congratulations, you're a certified yoga instructor." So even when the times get rough and things can feel real hairy, and, it's natural for us to question ourselves, like, is this worth it? Could I be doing something better with my time? Or in our culture, something that I'm noticing, and I've felt it in myself sometimes, is like, is there an easier way to get from A to B? Like, do I really have to stay the course here and like keep my commitment to myself or to others or to the world? Or, is there an easier way that I could just kind of like skirt around this? But, gosh, it's really rewarding on all levels. When you state out loud, I've made a commitment to many things recently, and I've also broken a lot of commitments in the past, and it never really feels that good. Of course, there are always times where you have to change your plans, because life is an ever-changing series of moments that, you don't ever know what's really coming around the corner. But I think something that's really helpful is having someone that helps keep us accountable. In an ideal world, we'd all keep ourselves 110% accountable, but that doesn't really happen a lot of time, especially with social media. So maybe you can speak a little bit to what your experience with commitments has been recently. Maybe.
Well, I would say what has been strengthening is the inner commitment, which is then reflected externally in how I show up with people, but deepening that inner commitment. An example would be, say, a few weeks ago, my dad got in touch, and it was kind of the day when he decided it was time to advise me on where I should be headed, right? And it isn't in alignment with where I know I'm headed. And but it's that path of, of logic that says, this is right, this makes sense, this is what you need to do, this is what others have had success with, so you need to follow in their footsteps. And here we are, this like real precipice of a new world, different foundation, based in love, based in safety, based in support, just everything looking quite different. And to be willing to stay with that, and then also reflect on, okay, how could I more speak to this other paradigm with greater love and greater presence? Because my tendency is just to see where him representing a paradigm, see, say in this case, where he's coming from, and agree and bring understanding. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah, that, and just essentially pretending that I could just do it that way, well, knowing that I can't, but not yet having the new form or structure to present to that old paradigm. Like, hey, look, I'm succeeding because I have this in place, and this is how it looks, and this is the amount of money coming in every month, and everything's stable and certain and known. Look, and then they can go, oh, great, and then they can just feel good and right, and like you're succeeding, and then they can feel proud, and so there's just, it's such a unique time to remain committed, and even knowing what that looks like. And it's almost like allowing the foundational commitment to truth, love, presence, honoring of body, acknowledgement of being, joy of embodiment, communion with earth, like those like fundamental, finding for each of us what our true priorities are and committing to that, and then allowing the form to complement that. But when you have these different paradigms interacting, it can be challenging, because I can see how that view of the world and life and what I'm supposed to be doing based on what I've done is, it's tempting as to just want to go, oh, you're right. Like, I just need to go just hard right, throw in the towel on this whole thing, whatever I'm doing or not doing, and just go to that. But it's like, it's not that easy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for all of us, anytime we're getting those reflections, essentially saying, you've invested enough time in this, I think you better consider an alternate, more stable course than the one you're on, because they can't really see what's really going on under the surface. And so this whole thing of wanting efficiency, wanting it to just have the form that you can display to your friends and family as, look at everything I've done, look at how successful I am. Instead, we just have an essence, we have a depth of presence, we have emotional integrity, we have self-honesty, and that will carry us through our entire lives. Like, that is a stable platform. So to trust in that more deeply, trust in what we've cultivated more deeply, even if right now the form isn't complementing it in a way that makes other people feel secure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I can completely relate to what you're saying, because leading up to this trip of heading across the border into Mexico, we spent quite a few months in the United States with my family. And the more we talked about what we were doing, and we were very open about what we were planning to do, there was a lot of attempted deterrence from what we were planning. And there were days where my mind was almost convinced by certain friends and family members that maybe we were actually crazy and that this plan was totally nuts. And, I was like walking an edge of like, are they right? And then, I'd have to go for a walk out in nature or do some yoga and meditation and be like, nope, this is my path. This is my truth. It might look crazy to outsiders who are, their reality is slightly different, paradigm to what I am living. And it's funny that you said that about your dad, because we spent a lot of time around my dad, and up till literally the morning we were getting in our car to leave his place to start making our way south, he said, well, if you suddenly find your common sense and you want to stay longer, you can. And Tanner and I looked at each other and we laughed and we were like, thanks, Dad. See you later. And, we got to a point of no return. And a lot of things can sway us, and so walking our path, when we each have a different path, and I think a lot of us are headed, metaphorically speaking, down a similar path. And, we're looking for the same things, like you said, truth and love, and illuminating the beautiful reality that we all experience at times, and making that the more consistent reality, and like building that foundation. And so with the commitments, oftentimes if it's a bit risky or just really different to what most people are used to, and I think there is genuine concern, but there's also a lot of fear that can come from others that will try to sway you off your path. And, when others maybe feel some fear or uncertainty, they might try to sweep you across onto their path and be like, no, don't do whatever that is you're doing. Come and stay here. It's safer. It's more certain. There's more security, safety in numbers kind of thing. Like, don't go off on your own path. That's wild and crazy. But yeah, it's been tough. And I have to say, I'm really grateful to have a partner in my life. And he has said the same to me, and many friends who are like, this might be a little bit crazy and it's not necessarily common, but good for you. Like, let's just go for it. And, it's one of those things, like, if you don't stay committed to what feels true in your heart, or maybe, some true divine guidance that you've received that's telling you, you know what, you need to go do this XYZ, whatever it is. If you don't do it, I think you can just always be like, well, what if I did that? What would have happened? Who would I be today? What path would that have taken me down? And so, it's a good practice for me, at least, to go, okay, what's the worst possible outcome here? And so, when I feel fear coming up, I was sharing with you earlier, like, the worst possible outcome for this journey we're on is, well, we might lose out financially, and we might spend the winter in a really big house alone near the beach in Mexico, which isn't what we're looking for. We're looking for community and growth and spiritual connection and consciousness expansion for a group of people, not just for us. And that's really why we're doing what we do. And so whenever we're questioning ourselves, we remind ourselves, why are we really doing this? And so, when we start to waver on a commitment, it's good to check in and ask why. It's such a good question,
It is. And it is the time for us to really gather in groups and get to see more of the reflection of who we're becoming and who we become, and that Sedona example of being part of a group. There were 15 people, a couple flew in from Iceland, and people from all over the US and Canada, and just instantly to be in this space of love and acknowledgement, because that's what everyone had cultivated in their own journeys, and there are a few people in the group that were carrying more with them, so to speak, from their past, more that needed to be healed and resolved, and we're never done in that, but yet the priority ceases to become healing. It's living, it's being, it's this depth of connection and acknowledgement of the beauty that we are. Like, that becomes the foundation. Healing takes place naturally, but now is the time for many of us to actually take our attention off healing and processing and fixing and actually put it on living. And then if there is some sort of healing that's required for you to have the life and living you desire to have, that will unfold. But if all our attention is fixated on healing, we don't put enough energy into, well, then once you're healed or in a state of balance, then what? Like, if we haven't visioned into the then what, we'll get there and then resort back into being in an unhealed state because we don't know really what to do once we're actually pretty healed and whole. So it really is a time for many of us to actually just put much more of our attention on, as we gather in groups, what do we get up to together?
Yeah.
If we're not gathering just to like reflect to each other our inner process and helping each other heal, like, what are we going to do with our time, right? And especially with enlightenment and awakening and all this emphasis on becoming awakened, enlightened. Well, as we go into these spaces of no mind and can connect deeper to the heart and offer this depth of presence that allows the body to relax, then what do we create? And actually putting our attention into that, because as we do, everything else will get handled. But it's almost, to me, feels like a time of collective shift into, and then what? And then we have retreats where we gather and learn new things and play and do yoga and share food together, and then that template can then extend into how we live our lives, right? Rather than just a retreat week, then that's like seeding a potential for the future where that's how we live, and trusting that unfolding and knowing that right now it's one of the more uncomfortable times because we're still going to receive reflections from other people, which in some ways are past versions of us from a multidimensional perspective, saying, no, don't keep going because you'll lose something, or you'll lose someone, or who will you be, or what's going to happen, right? So it's such a time to trust and keep going.
Absolutely. And I love what you said about, a few things stuck out there. What you said about not just living that way in retreats for, a week at a time, with finding, kind of, for lack of a better term, our tribe of people who are, vibrating on a similar plane and, experience a similar reality as to where we're each at. We find those clusters of people and we tend to gravitate toward each other. And, Tanner and I have hosted these cacao ceremonies for several years, and the energy that's created is incredible, but it's only for 4 hours and then everybody goes home. So now we're like, okay, how can we take that to the next level? Let's do a whole week. So we have these 13 weeks that are full of various facilitators. Some are cacao, some are all kinds of other amazing things. So let's do this in a week, or stay for a month if you want to come to all these retreats, whatever. We'll find a way to make this work and stretch that out so that we can just live together in that vibration of love and acceptance and compassion and trust. And I am so excited to see that become more the norm of everyday living for more of us, because there are so many people that we connect with, and I'm sure you have this experience. We're all, striving for and craving this communal, high vibrational living experience of joy and love and connection and compassion for one another. And it's coming. I feel like it's been coming for a long time, but I feel like we're getting closer and closer and closer, both out of deep desire and necessity, because there's quite a polarization happening on the planet. And, I know where I'm headed, and I know the path I'm on, and I know the people that I want to be around. And, there are people like you and I, and I'm sure many of the people that are watching these videos. And so let's connect. That's all I can say. Let's connect.
Mm-hmm. Connect and keep going. And the other thing I wanted to bring in here is just acknowledging, as these higher energies come in, as more love comes in this frequency, it just goes beyond what we've known. It calls up the shadow, as we know. It calls up what is unlike itself, so to speak, for us to really step into a community of love and presence and communication that's honoring all these things. As that potential is coming closer, everything that doesn't allow that will come up. So just be gentle with yourselves, each of us being gentle with ourselves as those things may come up. Maybe it's like energies of selfishness, or I need to get mine first, or energies of, oh, I don't really trust people, or, oh, what are their agendas? What do they want? Or just any like subtle things that have to, or big things, will be amplified because they're on their way out. So the more we can just acknowledge it's up because it's on its way out, not it's up because I'm wrong and I haven't done enough personal work. No, it's up because it's on the way out, and this higher love vibration is available to presence it through you and through others, and that will actually lead to that, the transmutation of the energy, the transformation of your being. So just know, as we step into these times of actually getting closer to actualizing the reality of true community and expression and love and support, those older aspects, or those older paradigms within us, around us, can amplify. So just to bring more gentleness to that, whether it's within us or within another. It's okay that this is happening. This is part of the process of shifting into greater love, is presencing what doesn't believe it is love within ourselves and within others. So just that emphasis on that as things are amplified. It's partially, and a big part of it is because these new energies are coming in and new frequencies are coming in.
And like, there's only so much space in a container for whatever kind of energy is coming in. And so to make room for the new, we need to allow some of the older, less useful energies, let them surface and go. so that we can be a container, that we can all be vessels for this new higher vibrational, more light, love energy. And yeah, I love that. I think that's a great ending to this conversation. And yeah, this is great. I'm so glad we got to sit down in 2 different time zones in 2 different countries and connect again. I love it. It's really, it really means a lot to me to record these episodes. And I know a lot of people look forward to watching them. And the viewers, the number of viewers is growing. And so I hope to keep going. And we've done this. We've kept a commitment for an entire year. Yay! Let's keep going.
Absolutely. And thank you everyone for watching and being with us in the 16th episode of Walking the Path. No longer watching the path. And we'll see you next time.